Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about decimal place values to the tenths and hundredths place. We're going to talk about what each digit represents. If we look at the names of each place value, we can see thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, the decimal point, tenths, and hundredths. The two places that we're talking about today, tenths and hundredths in blue. Now, anytime you see a comma, you know that you should say one of the place value words. In this case, it would be 1,000. Then we would continue saying the regular rest of the number, 397. Then it says, if you see a decimal point, you say and. So far we have 1,397 and. Then you want to say the rest of the number, 93, and say the place value of the very last digit. So the last digit is 3, and that's in the place value of hundredths. So if I follow these directions, I would say 1,397 and 93 hundredths. Now, if the 3 was not there, you could pause the video and try it yourself. But the answer would be 1,397 and 9/10. Let's go ahead and put that 3 back. Okay. Now, what does that 0.9 mean? So in this case, the number would be 3 and 9/10. What does that exactly mean? So we've talked about before that decimals are another way to represent a number less than 1, similar to a fraction. So how many complete whole pizzas do we see here? We see 1, 2, 3, but then the fourth one has this smiley face. Why does it have a smiley face? Because I already ate that piece of pizza. So I'm really happy that I was able to eat that piece of pizza because it was delicious. Now, the problem is I don't have 4 complete pizzas anymore. I only have 3 complete pizzas, and I have the fraction 9 pieces out of what used to be 10. So this represents 3 and 9/10. How do you say this number? 3 and 9/10. So this decimal is just another way to write a fraction, a mixed number, with a fraction that has a denominator of 10. Let's go to the next one. This one says 1.15, but that's not how you're supposed to say it, and these numbers are not lined up. So let's get those numbers lined up. We have the decimal here and the 15 here. So this number is 1.15. That's not how you're supposed to say it. This fraction is how many of these squares are completely colored in green. One of them is completely colored in green. And how many of this square is colored in green? Well, only a fraction of it is colored in green. 15 pieces out of 100. So we would call that fraction, that mixed number, 1 and 15 hundredths. How would we say this decimal? 1 and 15 hundredths. So a decimal, if you use 2 digits, it's just representing a whole number, 1, with a smaller than 1 number, a number smaller than 1. In this case, a number that is a fraction over 100. We just don't have the 100 there because it's invisible or it's implied or we already know the place value name, so it's not necessary. It's like this is speaking in English, this is speaking in Spanish, but they both mean the same thing. They're just different languages. So we have the language of decimals and we have the language of fractions, but they mean exactly the same thing. So you're going to work on your translation skills. So if there is only 1 digit behind the decimal, it is a fraction out of 10. And if there are 2 digits behind the decimal, it is a fraction out of 100. Let's practice. So if I had the number 3.46, that would be equal to what if we're talking about fractions? 3 and 46 out of 100. Or we could write it in word form, 3 and 46 hundredths. That's how you would say the decimal place value and also the fraction. Okay. What if I asked you which number is in the ones place? The answer should be 3. What if I asked you which number is in the hundredths place? The answer should be 6. What if I asked you which number is in the tenths place? The answer should be 4. So instead of continuing to write examples, I'm going to take you to this website I really like called iknowit.com, which many of you already know. Choose the decimal represented by the shaded area. We have 3 complete squares here. So obviously it's not this one, 2 and 3/10. We have 3 complete squares and 2 of them are colored in out of 10. Okay. Next one. What is the value of the underlined digit? Well, if we say this number correctly, it would be 3 and 6/10 would be correct. So there's our fraction, 6/10. Okay, how another one. How would we say this number? 9 and 5. Which place value is the 5 in? The 10th place. Okay. And another one. Which digit is in the hundredths place? If we go back to our PowerPoint, we can look after the decimal point, there's tenths and then hundredths. So we must know the answer is 3. Let's do one more before we continue. Choose the decimal represented by the shaded area. We have 2 complete boxes and 7 of them are colored in orange partly. So that would be 2 and 7/10.